Thank you, Agnes. Good morning. My name is Patricia Pfister. I am the writer for Criterion 2. My co-leads on Criterion 2 are Rick Gemeinhart and Karen Bills. And the Criterion 2 has an overreaching statement, which is the institution acts with integrity. Its conduct is ethical and responsible. So there are 5 core components to Criterion 2, and within those 5 core components, there are multiple subcomponents, and I'll address those as I go along. The 5 core components for Criterion 2 are A, the institution establishes and follows policies and processes to ensure ethical behavior. B, the institution presents itself clearly and completely to students and to the public. C, the governing board of the institution is autonomous to make decisions in the best interest of the institution and in compliance with policies. And D, the institution is committed to academic freedom and freedom of expression in the pursuit of truth in teaching and learning. And last but not least, 2E, the institution's policies and procedures call for responsible acquisition, discovery, and application of knowledge by its faculty, staff, and students. Next slide. I mentioned the co-leads for Criterion 2, but we had a great team working on this section of the assurance argument, and I want to thank not only the members that are listed here, but also our executive team and the many subject matter experts who were consulted. Next slide. In core component 2A, we wrote to support that overarching statement that UIC establishes and follows policies and processes to ensure that the board, our administration, faculty, and staff behave ethically. In addition to this overarching statement, there are 2 subcomponents to 2A, and those focus on 1, that UIC develops a mission and that the governing board adopted that mission, and 2, that UIC operates with integrity in certain functions, such as financial, academic, and human resources. I'm going to give you a few examples of what we included in 2A to support our argument. As evidence to support the first subcomponent about the mission, we included the mission statement and also evidence that the Board of Trustees ratified that mission statement in 2017. The rest and the bulk of the argument spoke to the second subcomponent and to the core component as a whole. We included the annual Mandatory Ethics Act training, and that spoke to the fact that all employees must take training to become aware of or be reminded of appropriate use of state resources, the gift ban, the prohibition of political activities during work hours, and the revolving door prohibition. This training is required by the State Officials and Employees Ethics Act, and evidence of the compliance with this annual training requirement is submitted to the board. We included information about the annual disclosure of outside activity, and this is required by the system's conflicts of commitment and interest policy. The disclosure process and oversight of this policy are the responsibility of the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research and its Office of Research Integrity. And then we highlighted that the Office of Business and Financial Services, OBFS, oversees all financial procedures, enforces specific policies, and provides training related to the system's business and financial activities. Again, these are just a few examples that we included in the argument for 2A. Next slide. Core component 2B required us to show that UIC presents itself clearly and completely to students and to the public. As with 2A, there are 2 subcomponents to 2B. First, that the institution ensures the accuracy of any representation it makes regarding academic offerings, requirements, faculty and staff, cost, governance structure, and accreditation relationships. The second subcomponent to 2B is that the institution ensures evidence is available to support any claims we make regarding contributions to the educational experience. So the evidence we used to support the 2B argument is that we highlighted the UIC website as the primary method for disseminating information about UIC. We then wrote to how we ensure information provided on our websites is accurate and maintained by pointing to our use of the RED platform, RED's multi-site requirements, UIC Web Strategy and Standards, and the UIC Web Content Style Guide. Student testimonials, summaries, and videos were included to support claims regarding contributions to the educational experience. We used the undergraduate and graduate catalogs as evidence of accurate and easily accessible information, and included how that information is updated every semester to reflect current offerings, and that the changes since the last publication in the catalogs are highlighted. Next slide, please. Core component 2C required us to show how the board is autonomous to make decisions in the institution's best interests. Unlike A and B, 2C had 5 subcomponents. The first focused on the board being trained and knowledgeable. The second dealt with the board's deliberations. 2C3 states that the board reviews the reasonable and relevant interests of internal and external constituencies during deliberations. 4, the board preserves its independence from undue influence. And 5, the board delegates day-to-day management of the institution to the institution's administration and expects the faculty to oversee the academic matters. So the evidence we used to support 2C and the 5 subcomponents were Illinois laws, such as the Board of Higher Education Act, that requires board members to receive regular training to enhance their knowledge of topics germane to higher education. The staggered terms for the Board of Trustee members ensures knowledgeable boards and continuity. To show that the board considers input from internal and external constituencies, we included that the Faculty Senate reports annually to the board. There are student trustees on the board, and opportunities for public comments are available at board meetings. In addition, the board must submit conflict of interest reports, statements of economic interest, and no more than 5 of the 9 appointed trustees may be affiliated with the same political party. The university statutes state that the board approves policy but leaves execution of those policies to its administrative agents. These administrative agents are also defined by the statutes, including designating the chancellor as the chief executive officer of the university and the Faculty Senate as the university's legislative body for matters of educational policy, such as requirements for admission to colleges and schools, requirements for degrees and certifications, and the academic calendar. Next slide, please. Core component D states that the institution is committed to academic freedom and freedom of expression in the pursuit of truth in teaching and learning. There were no subcomponents to D, and we used examples such as the fact that from 2017 to 2019, the system released 6 guiding principles to explicitly articulate essential core values. And the first of these guiding principles was titled Freedom of Speech on Campus, and it emphasizes the university allegiance to freedom of speech and the importance of this freedom to student development and to the university community. The UIC policy on open expression affirms the university's support for the environment in which a variety of ideas can be reasonably proposed and critically examined. The university library follows the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights, which opposes censorship and encourages the availability of materials expressing varied viewpoints. So we included all of this in the assurance argument. In addition, we highlighted that the Centers for Cultural Understanding and Social Change offers opportunities for members of the UIC community to engage with timely topics in dialogue and debates. And the provost hosts campus conversations to bring the UIC community together and serves as an open and inclusive space for dialogue. Next slide, please. Core component 2E required us to show that UIC policies and procedures call for responsible acquisition, discovery, and application of knowledge. This core component had 4 subcomponents. 2E1 reads that the institution supports basic and applied research, maintains professional standards, ensures regulatory compliance, ethical behavior, and fiscal responsibility. 2E, the institution provides effective support services to ensure integrity of research and scholarly practices. E3, the institution provides student guidance in the ethics of research and the use of information. And E4, the institution enforces policies on academic honesty and integrity. Again, just a few examples that we use to support our argument. We pointed to the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research, which supports research from inception to the conclusion of studies. The Office of Research Development assists researchers with proposal and development of proposals and finding funding opportunities. The Office of Research Integrity provides oversight and support services to ensure that research and scholarly practices of faculty, staff, and students meet the system's requirements and standards for integrity. The Graduate College provides education and support for students who are training to be academic researchers, such as the scientific integrity and responsible research, and essential for animal research courses. And lastly, UIC's student disciplinary policy specifically states that students are subject to disciplinary action for academically dishonest behavior, which includes plagiarism, cheating, and other offenses. Next slide. So that concludes the Criterion 2 argument and the evidence that we included. As with Criterion 1, we included some questions that the reviewers may ask. Again, I'm not going to read those either, but I am going to point out just one question, how we might answer that. How do policies get reviewed and changed? Give some examples of recent changes. So I can speak to this because I happen to work heavily with policies. So UIC has a policy on policies and a UIC policy committee. The committee provides a policy template instructions for units who wish to create a new or revise old campus-wide policies. The units then bring the draft policies to the UIC policy committee. The committee meets regularly and reviews and provides feedback to the unit. And once finalized, the policies that are finalized with the committee and the unit are advanced to the chancellor for review and approval. So we'd probably expand that a little bit, but that would be the essence of how we would answer that question if the reviewers wanted more details on how we revise policies on campus. So that's my conclusion of Criterion 2. Thank you. And now Aisha.